Now we're going to start part 2 of the election theory review. In this recording, we're going to go over some of the topics from fair division. Just as I mentioned in the previous recording, part 1, be sure that you're studying all the content pages, all of the sidebar resources, your results from your quiz, reviewing any problems you may have missed, your assignments and discussions, which should be now graded. Go back and view your grades and anything you may have missed and contact me if you need help. Your AMDM help files and AMDM help videos, which the links are located in the user links widget on the course homepage. You can also find a link to this presentation, which you'll see throughout this presentation that I'm going to provide additional resources links, and you won't be able to actually click on those within this recording. But if you go to the AMDM help files and go to the live lessons recordings folder, you can download this PowerPoint and then directly access the links within the recording, which I'll point out to you at the end of this PowerPoint. Again, as I mentioned in part 1, here are the topics. We're going to be going over page 3 in this recording on fair division. We're not going to go over every method in great detail, so be sure that you go back in the content. Also be sure that you go back to page 1 where all of the key terms are located. Here's your first practice problem. Sarah and Christina have been roommates all throughout college. Now that they have graduated, it's time to divide up the items that have been purchased over the last 4 years. Use the adjusted winner procedure to determine who gets what. So Sarah and Christina have both put values on what they think the furniture, clothes, books, and kitchen items are worth. These numbers represent essentially a percentage of what's left. So as you can see, Sarah thinks that the kitchen items are worth the most, and they make up more percentage, like 35% of what they own together. And Christina agrees that the kitchen items are worth more, but she thinks they're actually worth more than what Sarah believes they're worth, at around, or at what she claims as being 50%. You can't really argue these things, so that's why there are such procedures like this, so that there can be some type of a compromise on who gets what. We can see that in at least in this method with the adjusted winner procedure, that if we were to give Sarah the furniture because she thinks that it is worth more than Christina, and if we were to give the clothes to Sarah because she thinks that they're worth more, and then if we were to give Christina what she thinks more is worth more for the kitchen items, we would end up with Sarah getting 55 and Christina getting 50. And this wouldn't be fair division, would it? Because Sarah would be getting more. But we still haven't divided up the books. So there is a way that we can give Sarah her top 2 items, Christina her top item, and then divide what's left of the books so that they're each getting a fair share. If we take the books and let's say that we're like, well, let's, because Christina's at 50, which is less than Sarah at 55, what if we go ahead and give Christina the books? Well, if we do that, then Christina is going to be at 60, which is more than Sarah. Well, we don't want that either. So let's keep going with the adjusted winner method. In this method, we're going to take what's left over, which are the books, and fairly divide them so that each gets the same number of points. What you'll do is you'll take Sarah at 25 plus 30 plus 10 times her share, and then Christina which she had gotten the kitchen items, which were the point value was 50, and then we're going to give her what's left. The reason why we're doing 1 minus x is we're dividing it up as a percentage, and one of them is going to have, like, say if you do a 35% and a 65%, those add up to 100% or 1.00 if you move the decimal over. If this is confusing, maybe you need to go back and review this particular method. You can also go and view the detailed steps at that YouTube link that you see on your screen. Remember, you can't click directly on that link. So you're going to need to go to the AP Calc, or sorry, the AMD help files, and actually download this recording so you can view that. But regardless, again, let me show you here. We've got 25 plus 30, because those are the two items that Sarah found to be the most value for her. Well, not the most value for her, but more value than what Christina put on them. And then Christina's 50. So we're going to do 25 plus 30 plus 10 times whatever percentage that Sarah gets of that percent. And then Christina's going to get 50 plus whatever leftover percent that Sarah didn't get. So 25 plus 30 and 50. You see that over here we have Sarah got the 25 and 30, and Christina got the 50. So you're always going to set it up with the 10 being what was left, and then x and 1 minus x. If you solve for x, this is an algebraic, you'll have to do like 10 times 1, 10 times x, then combine your like terms, combine your x's, combine the 25 and 30 to get 55. Again, you can see the detailed steps there at that YouTube video. Once you solve for that and you get 1/4, then you go back and you plug it in. So you'll have the 25 plus the 30, and then 10 times 1/4. Remember, going backwards, the x is the one, we solved that to be 1/4. So Sarah gets 1/4 of the 10, which the 10 is the books. Oops, sorry, I went the other direction. There. So you'll do 10 times 1/4, which is 2.5. So that means that Sarah gets 25 plus 30 plus 2.5, which is 57.5. Now, to make sure we did this correctly, we'll also calculate Christina's. We're going to have to make sure that we also get 57.5. So we got the 50. Remember, we knew she was going to get the 50 right here. And then if Sarah gets 1/4 of the books, then that's going to leave Christina with 3/4 of the books. And this makes sense, doesn't it? Because going backwards, we saw that without the books, Sarah had 55 and Christina had 50. So Christina is going to get a bigger portion of the books than Sarah is. So going back over here, 3/4 of the books, that's going to be 10. So 10 times 3/4 plus 50 is 57.5. Now we just went through a lot of algebra through these steps here to get this calculation. Oops, sorry. Oh goodness, let me go back again. To get this calculation where they're both equal to 57.5. 10 times 3/4, I forgot to write that here, but this should say over here to the right, 7.5. Christina's going to get 7.5 of the books. Like, that's her value of the books. They are equal. You could probably do this in your head too, just so long as you get that they both equal the same amount. You've got Sarah getting the furniture, Sarah getting the clothes, and Christina getting the kitchen items, and then what's left. As long as you're dividing that equally so that when you're adding up all of the values, points of values for each of the furniture, clothes, books, and kitchen items, you get 57.5. I'll give you some more examples of the adjusted winner method at the end of this PowerPoint in the form of a couple of links. So let's discuss the Nestor inheritance procedure. Albert, Robert, and Danny want to get the Peter Frampton's famous guitar. So they're going to all do some bids on the guitar. This is sealed bid. So Albert bids 48,000, Robert bids 80,000, and Danny bids 60,000. Use the Naster inheritance procedure to find what the results are for a fair division. So here's how it works. Based on the bid, the person who bids the highest is always going to get the item. But because the other two people do have an ownership in that guitar, they have to get something in return if they don't get the guitar. So here's what we do. Robert gets the guitar because he was the highest bidder. And then you take his bid, which is 80,000, and he's going to take 2/3 of that and put it into like a temporary account, or what's called sometimes the kitty or the pot or something like that. The reason why you use 2/3 in your calculations is because there's 3 people, Albert, Robert, and Danny. And so as 1/3 of it is each of it. 1/3 Albert's, 1/3 Robert's, and 1/3 Danny's. But he's got to place 2/3 of his $80,000 because that makes up for Albert and Danny's portion. So that's a total of 2/3. So you take 2/3 of that, which is $53,333. You put that into a temporary account. Then Albert is going to withdraw from the kitty 48,000 divided by 3. So the reason why you use that number is because Albert bid 48,000. So if he bid 38,000, you're going to divide that by 3, and that's 16,000. So he's going to withdraw 16,000 out of the 53,000. Then Danny's going to withdraw from the kitty or the temporary accounts his bid, which was 60,000, and then divide that by 3, and that would be 20,000. So then after that, you're going to take what money is left over, and there is some money left over because all the bids are different. And you're going to take the 53,000, which was in that kitty, subtract what Danny withdrew, subtract what Albert withdrew, which is, see how that says 20,000 and 16,000, that adds up to 36,000. So when you take what was in there, subtract what they withdrew, you get 17,333. Now you divide that equally among each of them, and they get that back. So let's see, so here we go. Albert he had already taken out 16,000, and then he takes his portion of what was left, which is 5,777. So this is the total of what he gets. Robert gets the guitar, and he ended up paying, I think there's a typo there actually, sorry about that. He got the guitar, but he also got paid out, let's see. Oh, he ended up having to pay, remember. He paid the 53,333, but he got this part back, 5,777. So you take the 53,333 and subtract the 5,777 to get what he paid. But remember, he got the guitar, right? So that's why he had to pay the money, because he got the guitar. The other two guys, Albert and Danny, they did not get the guitar, so they had to receive a payout for their portion of the ownership of the guitar. So then Danny got the 20,000, which we had calculated here, plus he gets the 5,777 back. So he got 25,777. So there are additional examples of this procedure at the end of this PowerPoint. Let's take a look now at the loan divider. 3 investors are dividing a piece of land worth $300,000. Each investor's value in thousands for each of the 3 pieces of land is shown below. You can see that Linda is the divider because she put an equal amount on each of the pieces of the piece of land. So she is the loan divider with 100, or an equal amount per piece. taking a look at what Juan and Martin have, it looks like Juan put um, on piece 2 he put 100, but Martin put 90. On piece 3, Juan put 120, and Martin took 150. But they both had a pretty low value on piece 1, meaning that they really didn't want piece 1. So it's pretty safe to say Linda's going to get piece 1 because she didn't really care and she thought that they were all three worth the same amount anyway. We can see that because the land is worth 300,000, that's around, or that is equal to 100,000 per person. So out of Juan and Martin, Juan put an amount that's greater than 100,000 on both 2 and 3. He put piece 2 is worth 100,000, piece 3 is worth 120. But Martin, he did not think that piece 2 was even worth 100,000, which means if he got that share, he would be pretty upset because he wouldn't think he at least even got 1/3 of his share, right? I mean, 1/3 of his share would be a value of 100,000. So what we can do is we can give Martin piece 3 because he did think that that was at least worth his fair share of $100,000. Then we could give piece 2 to Juan because he thought that that one was worth 100,000, and that is his fair share, is 100,000. And then Linda is left with piece 1, and she's going to be happy with that too because she had that she thought that they were all worth the same. So in summary, Juan can receive piece 2, Martin can receive piece 3, and Linda receives piece 1, and everyone receives what they think is a fair share. Okay, here's some additional resources. Remember that you do need to go back and see some additional examples on adjusted winner, the Nassar inheritance, loan divider, taking turns in the bottom-up strategy, and the divide and choose. And lastly, don't forget to go back through the terms that are in the course content. Have those either memorized or be familiar with how to apply those methods, or just analyze what the definitions of those different terms mean. If you have any questions, please contact me.